Hiya! Welcome! Yet another vinyl tag here on YouTube to get involved with. And this one was started by Simon, aka Vinyl Dale, and it's his alternative and indie tag for 2024. So I think this has got to be the last vinyl / music tag that I do this year. I've gone from doing none in 2023 to 3 now, including this one. So unless someone happens to come along with, I don't know, a German industrial tag, that's not going to happen, and no, I'm not going to start that either, then this has got to be the last one. People are probably all tagged out now, as this is going to be early February when this comes out, and all these have been doing the rounds on YouTube, these various tags, such as Rob Walker's main one, which I've done, and also I did Rachel's Ghosts Beatles tag as well. They've been doing the rounds for about a month or more now. But I wanted to get involved with this one that Simon, Vinyl Dale, started. It was actually an idea that Stevie's Vinyl Cupboard had. And I said to him, yeah, if you or someone gets that going, I'll be a part of it. And then Vinyl Dale decided he would actually show the initiative, as it were, and start it. So thank you to Simon for that. I'll leave a link for Vinyl Dale's original tag video at the top of the description, so if you want to get involved, please do. As with the main 2024 vinyl tag, I've not got any of my records, CDs, mini discs out, but I will show pictures of what I've got on screen as we go along. Alright, so there's 16 questions and then a bonus one at the very end. And question 1 is, which act in your collection do you want to see live? If you'd asked me this years ago, before late 2015, it would have always been New Order, but I did see them, obviously, in, that was November or December 2015. I'd like to see them again, but I think Simon's question means an act who you've never seen live, and an indie or alternative one at that. I've gone with Rammstein for this. I had to give them as an answer for one of these questions. They are, in my opinion anyway, certainly alternative. Alternative here in the UK. Whether they're classed as alternative or part of the establishment in Germany is maybe a matter up for debate elsewhere. But Rammstein, and they do tour a lot, but I've just never got round to getting tickets. One day I would really like to have said, oh, I've seen Rammstein in concert, because I've got Blu-rays and DVDs of their concerts and other live albums, and their live shows are an absolute spectacle that's unprecedented really in music. So to say I've seen them once would be something pretty special for me. Question 2, and it's kind of like a 2-part question this. It's to show your first indie rock album that you bought and the first alternative album that you bought. Simon, I think, distinguishes sort of indie rock as being sort of like, you know, I don't just want to say Britpop, because obviously a lot came before that and after that, but, you know, more sort of guitar based. I suppose alternative would be, maybe there might be another guitar band, but a band who would also have maybe a sort of more electronic influence. That's how I've interpreted it anyway. So the first indie rock album I bought, I had to think about this. I'm not entirely certain, but I've got a feeling it was All Change by Cast. I'm showing the vinyl record up on screen because that's the one I own now, but back in, it would have been 1996 I first bought this. It would have been the CD. A great debut album from probably my favourite kind of pure Britpop group of the time. I always liked Cast better than Oasis, and I was an Oasis fan and still am an Oasis fan today. But Cast, and they're another one I have seen live back in 1997, where they were supported by a then pretty much unknown Travis. Yeah, All Change was a great debut. I probably prefer their second album to it, Mother Nature's Call, but I bought All Change, I think, probably a few months before Mother Nature Call came out in, I think that was early 1997. And to the best of my recollection, that was the first indie rock, you know, guitar indie album that I bought. The first alternative album that I bought, this is an easier one for me to remember, although I didn't buy it, it was a Christmas present, but I'm going to count it anyway. And once again, I'm going to show a different format to the one that I actually picked up back in the day. I'm showing the CD for the Best of New Order, but I got that on cassette at Christmas 1994. Even though it's a compilation that is pretty much a cash grab, really, it's the album that changed my life, that. I'll always have a special place in my heart for the Best of New Order, even though Substance 87 is a better compilation, and even subsequent compilations from New Order could be argued might be better. But because I loved New Order for years, but I'd never collected their music, and then I asked for that for Christmas, got it on cassette, I played it to death. So always have many fond memories of the Best of New Order. It's a compilation, not a studio album, but I'm going to include that. That's certainly my first alternative album that I ever had. Question 3, favourite indie rock and alternative album. So once again, a two-pronged question here. The indie rock one I've gone for is Different Class by Pulp. I talked about this in the Rob Walker sponsored vinyl tag last month. Just brings back just so many memories of those heady Britpop days, really. I won't go on about it much more in this video, other than to say, if you've never heard Different Class, where have you been? It's got some outstanding singles on it. The rest of the album, all the non-single tracks, are absolutely fantastic as well. And the favourite alternative album, nice easy one for me, this one will always be my top pick. In fact, it's not just my favourite alternative album, it is my favourite album bar none. It's Technique by New Order. This was my pick for Ian ranking the Obscures Battle Royal, and it got through to the next round. I don't expect it to win because some of the other guys involved in the RTO Battle Royal don't really seem to pay much attention to New Order. Richard McCook, I'm looking at you, who did his favourite albums from 1965 to 1989, and there was absolutely no Joy Division or New Order in there. What's that about, Richard? But New Order Technique, absolutely magnificent, always will be as far as I'm concerned. That is my answer for that. And question 4, out of those two, which is your overall favourite? Well, Different Class is absolutely class, pardon the pun. But obviously, I've just told you really in question 3 that it's my overall favourite album of all time, anybody. It is, of course, Technique. Question 5 is a YouTube channel dedicated to your favourite act. I can't answer this one really. I don't particularly like answering these sort of questions that are specifically shouting out YouTube channels. And I can't really think of a channel that is dedicated solely to New Order and New Order related stuff. No doubt is some out there, but they've not come up on my radar. So I'm giving that question a miss. Number 6 is a non-native album pressing. So if you've got an album from a British group, but it was pressed or released in a different country. I'm going to go with the mini disc version of Definitely Maybe by Oasis, which I know will please Simon because that was an album he showed repeatedly in his initial tag video. I've got the US version of the mini disc released on Epic Records. I'm currently reading, actually, funnily enough, Alan McGee's kind of autobiography / history of Creation Records, and he talks about how Oasis signed to Epic. And when I was collecting Oasis on mini discs some years back, the Epic US version of the mini disc was the one that was more easily available for me at that time. I didn't really mind whether I got the US pressing, the Epic pressing, or the European one, which I think was out on Helter Skelter, or of course the UK one, which was Creation Records. So that's my answer for number 6. Number 7, an indie or alternative album, new or old, that was bought in 2023. Well, this one is new and old because it's a reissue. I've gone with the self-titled album, which wasn't their debut, and also their debut was also eponymous. But I'm going with House of Love by House of Love, that would have originally come out on Fontana in very early 90s, I think. But that got a reissue last year. 3 of House of Love's Fontana albums got reissued, but that one is by far the best. The other 2, I'm glad I got them, but I can kind of take or leave them. But the first one, House of Love, is excellent in my opinion. Number 8, an act I discovered in 2023. I'm going to go with Sally Shapiro here. I'll show their most recent album, Sad Cities. Sally Shapiro is always a bit of a confusing thing because it sounds like a female singer, and there is a female singer in the act. It's a duo, technically. They call the female singer Sally Shapiro, but no one seems to know her actual real name. I think they're from Sweden. They do sort of alternative indie Italo, I would call it. I know a lot of people's tastes when they think of alternative just sort of go towards sort of indie rock and guitar-based stuff. But, you know, I want to show some love for electronic acts and, you know, industrial acts like I did with Rammstein earlier on as well. So I'm going to go with the duo, Sally Shapiro and Sad Cities, who I discovered probably just under a year ago, and I've become a bit of a fan. Number 9, show a bootleg or live album. Well, I had a load to choose from here. I've got plenty of live albums, including a few from certain alternative and indie acts. And I've got a load of bootlegs just from New Order that I was madly collecting New Order bootlegs years ago on CD. Don't tend to do it now, even though I know there's still plenty out there I can pick up. It's just, you have to prioritise, and after a while, all the New Order live bootlegs, they would have been as well, the majority. There's a couple of others with like outtakes and unofficial mixes and stuff as well. After a while, it was starting to be a bit samey, all the live bootlegs. I'll never part with them. They're part of my New Order collection. And, you know, if I just on a whim wanted to pick some more up, maybe I will do one day. But the one I'll show you, and like I said, I had tons to choose from. This is both a live album and a bootleg. Is New Order's Live at the Reading Festival 1993. One of my favourites. I think one of the first bootlegs and or unofficial New Order albums that I picked up. It was a great gig, but it was like a bittersweet one, as it was the last time the original lineup of New Order played together for another 5 years. They just had fallen out by then, and they'd headlined Reading 93, walked off stage and didn't really speak to each other for nearly 5 years. Number 10 is a signed album. Not got too many of these, but I do have one that qualifies as its alternative album, released on Mute Records, and it is Shadow Party with their self-titled and so far only album. Shadow Party was an act formed by Tom Chapman and Phil Cunningham, who are the two newbies, although neither of them are that new now. In fact, Phil Cunningham's been in New Order officially for about 20 years or more now. That's signed by them and one other member of Shadow Party, I think. And I picked that up for a really good price in a Mute Bank sale, I think it was last year. Number 11, if I had to choose between listening to either American or British acts for the rest of my life, which would it be? It's this old chestnut again. It's very similar to the question that Rob asked in his tag for New Year's Day. Which country's music would you listen to if you could only listen to one? And everyone was choosing their own country, apart from me and maybe one other tag I've seen. Maybe someone might have chose a different country, possibly. But I can't remember where that was now. This is in a similar vein, really, and it's not a question that I think, you know, is particularly taxing. I'm not going to skew the answer and just go with a country that isn't an option. I'm not going to say Germany again, because the choice is between Britain or the US. So I'll choose British bands, because there's way more British acts I like than American ones. But I don't really rate that question. Sorry, Simon, I've got to be honest here. Right, number 12. An album that you own on multiple formats. I'm going back to New Order again, and this won't be the last time that New Order are mentioned either. I'll show Power, Corruption and Lies, because I've got their, I think it was from maybe 2009, the expanded 2-CD album. And then I've also got the definitive edition box set, which has the vinyl LP, another CD. So I've got the CD twice, technically. and it's also got some good extras in it as well. Number 13 is the best act, in your opinion, that plays acoustic guitar. I had to think about this one a little bit, because I was thinking, well, do I listen or collect any groups that really exclusively play acoustic guitar? You know, who are all acoustic and they never go electric. Simon's answer, I think he answered Noel Gallagher and Oasis again for this. And obviously they were never a fully 100% acoustic act by any stretch. So I'm going to go with Cast again here. I'll show Mother Nature Calls on screen, as that's my favourite Cast album. But they've done a lot of acoustic-led tracks over the years, as it doesn't have to be just an all acoustic all the time ensemble. Then Cast is my answer for number 13. Number 14, the best alternative / indie singer. I'm going to go with Danny McNamara from Embrace here, because I've been listening to a lot of Embrace quite recently. They're a group who I've liked for many years, and I collected a couple of their albums on mini disc years ago. And now more recently I've picked up a couple of their albums that I didn't already own on vinyl as well. And I've always liked Danny McNamara's voice. I would say Embrace are kind of, although they were coming out kind of at the tail end of Britpop, arguably maybe a year or two after, you know, to me they're more sort of post-Britpop. And when I say post-Britpop, I think of acts who I'm not that keen on, like Coldplay, or who I think are just rubbish, like Keane. And that might be sacrilege to some people out there. I can't stand Keane. Never have, never will. They do absolutely fuck all for me. But Embrace, I think, are on a much higher level than those, certainly. And a lot of the other sort of contemporaries. Even Travis. I like Travis. I've got their first, 3 albums on mini disc. I like Danny McNamara's voice. I think he's a really good and underrated singer, really. Number 15, a band with male and female members. Easy, nice and easy. New Order, of course, the original lineup, although technically the original lineup was just the 3 of them post Joy Division. But it's males: Pete Hook, Stephen Morris, Bernard Sumner, and they were joined soon thereafter by the lovely Gillian Gilbert. And I've chosen Music Complete to show on screen here, as that was Gillian's comeback album. She'd left New Order in the early 2000s to look after her family and also deal with some health problems. And then 10 years later, she returned to the fold. So that was nice. I always loved Gillian's keyboard playing. And despite what Peter Hook might say about how supposedly useless she was in New Order, he's talking out his arse, as he often does, Hooky. You know, it was good to have her back, really, as she just added a real sort of, not just femininity to New Order's sound, but she knew what a great keyboard hook should be like. You know, she was great on the synth, still is. I'm saying was, like past tense. She is a great synth player, and someone with a great ear for pop music and for electronic pop, synth pop, and also something that she never really was able to show off to any great extent in New Order. She's a really good singer as well. Check out the other 2, her and Stephen Morris's side project. She's a really, really sweet sounding singer as well. Number 16, show albums from 2 bands that have the same member. Another easy one to do for me, this. I'm going to show, once again, New Order. Yeah, this is a bit of a New Order fest, but hey, why not? They are my all-time favourite band. So, showing Brotherhood, my second favourite New Order album, I would say. And then, of course, Bernard Sumner, the lead singer in New Order, went on a few years after to form the super duo Electronic with Johnny Marr. Although technically, at the very start, they were a super group because the Pet Shop Boys were involved in a couple of tracks. But Electronic and their eponymous debut album, which is probably my second favourite album of all time, or it's their top 5, likely top 3 of all time, certainly. Another absolutely near perfect record, that one. If you've never heard Electronic by Electronic, you are truly missing out. The bonus question, question 17, is to form a VC member supergroup. I'm not going to do that. I told Simon in his comments on his video that I thought that was a ridiculous question and I'm not going to bother with it. So I'm sticking to my word there. But thank you to Vinyl Dale for this indie and alternative tag. I really enjoyed getting together my answers for these. No more tags for the rest of 2024 now, unless there's something that happens later on in the year that goes a bit viral. If anything in the VC goes truly viral. But yeah, as far as these sort of New Year ones are concerned, that's it now, because I'm all tagged out. I'm all shagged out from the tags, and no doubt you who are watching are as well. But I appreciate those who have watched these 3 vinyl tag videos that I've made. And I want to say special thanks, as always, to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now, and I'm in the mood to listen to some great alternative and indie music. And I've mentioned a lot of great bands and artists in these answers to Vinyl Dale's questions here. So why don't you join me in listening to some good old New Order, Cast, Oasis, Embrace, Sally Shapiro, all the others that I've mentioned, Pulp, another one. Let's all do that now, and I do hope that all of you will join me again next time for my next vinyl tag, which ain't going to be for months, if not nearly a year, and my next music related video. Cheers everyone. See ya!